As Hispanic high school students begin to graduate at a higher rate with solid GPAs, fewer of them are actually attending institutions of higher education. The process of a first-generation Hispanic student applying and attending college is difficult, and many find financial hardships as a source for a decline in attendance. Beatriz Aguirre and Jessica Jimenez describe why they think that attendance is difficult.
I definitely think the process in the United States is very complicated. Coming from a family where both my parents got their education in Mexico, it's harder to come to the U.S. and be going to school in America, high school, college, and they don't know. They don't know the process. They can't walk you through it. So, quitting is very easy.
The parents don't apply enough pressure on their kids. Of course, I think every parent wants what's best for their kids and they want them to go, but they don't really say, okay, you have a choice, you can go.
Being Hispanic with no one to look to as help for higher education can cause a decline in enrollment. Many previous Hispanic generations did not attend college and don't see why their children would want to.
Generally, in the Hispanic culture, different families came from different backgrounds, and so back in that country, maybe education wasn't such a big deal, and so at home, you're not really encouraged to go. Your parents aren't really aware of the resources, meaning that they maybe didn't pursue higher education.
As financial struggles seem to appear more and more, the stress of attending school is becoming greater. The opportunity to attend school does not seem so crucial when there are no funds to provide for it.
The other day, I was walking through my living room and my parents saw a check with a bill from the university. It was X amount of money, and I heard, of course, in Spanish, I heard my mom say, how are we going to pay for this? And they hadn't read the whole letter. They hadn't read the part that said if you have financial aid, this doesn't apply to you. But I heard my parents discussing it, and I had to walk in, and I was like, I guess I don't have to worry about that. The financial aid's going to cover it. But in those couple minutes, I heard the stress in my parents' voice, how are we going to pay for this? We can't pay for this right now.
The need for financial aid is growing. America Acevedo, a fifth-year student majoring in neuroscience, would not be able to attend school without this help.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no other way. I get, when you're on financial aid, you get your normal bill, just like everyone else. And I have a mini heart attack because I think oh my goodness, what would happen if I actually had to pay the majority of that money?
Aside from needing financial assistance, at times that help is not easily accessed and can cause more stress on students.
As a freshman, when I went in there, it was frustrating to me because I think they just kind of assume that you know what needs to happen or what's going to happen. When I came in as a freshman, I had the Millennium Scholarship. I was under various scholarships. I was really relying on those scholarships to go through. And it was a little confusing because trying to deal with them and then at the same time making sure that I wasn't going to get overfined. So it was a little frustrating.
Unfortunately, what comes down to financial aid is that a lot of times when you fill out FAFSA, you have to get a lot of supplementary information from your parents. And I don't think a lot of people know that. So, you're stuck maybe waiting a week or two for your parents to get their tax information together. And that really puts you at a disadvantage because, you're waiting around and financial aid is a first come, first served basis, so if you're not filling out that application as soon as possible, there's someone before you who's going to get that money.
Scholarships seem bountiful and enticing for graduating high school seniors, but scholarship help seems to cease after the freshman year, resulting in needed jobs for additional funds.
There's lots of scholarships for students graduating high school or entering their first year of college, but after that first year, it's there was no money, no scholarships that I could apply for or anything. I actually took a year off to work, an entire year, before I could come back and continue going to school.
I do work 4 jobs, but most of that goes to taking care of my family, and I couldn't, ever imagine spending that money on myself to go to school. It would just be, I don't know, it just seems kind of like an extravagance when it comes to, paying your water bill or your electricity.
Beatriz Aguirre is a graduate student now and describes how scholarship help seems to have faded.
When we talk about graduate school, there's even less opportunity. Everyone says, they want Latinos to go to grad school because there's such low numbers. There's no help. There's very few scholarships out there, and the few that there are national, so you're competing with a lot of people for that small pool of money. So it's definitely hard.
Part of our culture is, you get 3 minimum wage jobs and you work your butt off But that's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable way of life. I mean, there's no advancement that way. So, do the best you can to keep the goal of the future in your mindset. Yes, you may have to pull a few long hours, and yes, school is expensive, and yes, it does take you away from, maybe working a job full time. But because you're putting in those hours now, one day you'll be able to work at a job where maybe it's less strenuous than, say the jobs that your parents had to work.
The enrollment of Hispanic students at UNR is increasing at a rather steady pace, but a gap is still apparent. Compared to the attendance of Asian students and white non-Hispanic students, the annual report released by the Center for Student Cultural Diversity shows that more Hispanic students are graduating. From 2010 to 2011, 276 graduates were Hispanic, a jump compared to the graduates from 2009 to 2010, which only contained 196 Hispanics.